Welcome back to All Things 80s and welcome to the final episode in the series where today we're going to look at Christmas 1980. So for Christmas 1980, the number one toy that year was the Rubik's Cube, which seems quite odd to me. I did have a Rubik's Cube as a child and it was interesting for about 5 minutes, and once I couldn't solve it, that was it. I was bored with it, but apparently that was the number one toy at Christmas 1980. So if that wasn't your thing, let's take a look to see what else there was on offer for Christmas in 1980. So, starting with the video games, we had the wonderful Atari. We've got the Binatone. You know, if you enjoyed playing Pong, then these were your thing. Even got Kevin Keegan there. Now these were the electronic games of 1980, and they looked pretty good to me. Simon was always a classic. They got computer battleships. There's the Star Wars Battle Command game. Intercept looks interesting. Now this is good stuff. We've got the Big Track, radio-controlled cars, Tin Can Alley. Wildfire looks good, and Matchbox electric racing cars. This is all fantastic stuff. TCR, Skeletrix. Hornby railways I was never into, but I do appreciate them. And of course the wonderful Evel Knievel with the Energizer. That Palitoy cop car looks good. This is interesting. So back then, Chad Valley were doing Star Wars. We have the 12-inch Vader, the Stormtrooper rifle. Slam Bam Sam was a car game that I always fancied. Of course, Palitoy Action Man. There's the Stretch Hulk. This is all great stuff. In fact, this is the best catalogue I've seen for the whole decade. There's the Star Wars Space Cruiser, which was absolutely massive. And, you know, classic Lego police station. I had that Lego motor, actually. Even this stuff is great. Of course, Mr. Frosty, even a casino game for kids. And the horror makeup I always wanted. Wow, even the Play-Doh stuff looked really interesting and cool. This sort of girl stuff, teach them how to bake, iron the man's shirts, do the vacuuming, all very good. What's this, Barbie or Cindy? Yeah, classic sort of girl stuff. No BMX bikes, of course. And there's Dusty Bin from 3-2-1. I remember that Jack in the Box, seeing that a lot as a kid. This very much baby stuff. Weebles, I had one Weeble as a kid. Fisher-Price Adventure People, always a great toy. Let's see. Clash of the Cosmic Robots looks interesting. Turn the Terrible Tank, I remember that. And there's Crazy Maze, which was rebranded as Screwball Scramble. And snooker tables, table football, test match, all good stuff. So that was it. So those were the toys that were available in 1980. And I have to say, of all the years we've looked at in this decade, that was by far the most interesting in my opinion, despite the fact there were no major franchises involved. So obviously Star Wars only had 2 items in this catalogue, but there were no Transformers, no He-Man. So this was all sort of just good old-fashioned toys. So my memories of 1980 are quite vivid. I do remember getting a Skeletrix set for Christmas that year, which I absolutely loved. And I haven't actually seen a Skeletrix in probably, I don't know, 3+ decades. But I can still remember the smell that used to be made from the sort of motor overheating. It's just one of these things that stick with you. So aside from the Skeletrix, that was also the year I got a lot of Corgi die-cast Batman and Spider-Man vehicles. If you remember the classic 66 Batman, I actually got 2 of them that year, and also got the Spider-Man Jeep with the Green Goblin figure, and basically what was a net, but it was just a plastic bag he would, you know, go inside. Also as well, Maskatron from the $6 Million Man. I don't believe I'd ever seen the show, so to me it was just a generic sort of robot, but I loved that toy. And also that year, quite a cowboy theme to it. I think it was because my dad was a big fan of westerns, and I remember getting a little Lone Ranger figure with the blue fabric costume, which was a wonderful toy, which is something I will need to hunt down because that holds a lot of great memories. But also got my first ever cowboy outfit and, of course, cap guns. So that was a great, great time and one of my best ever Christmases. So that was my memory of Christmas 1980. So, BBC One, Christmas Day, 1980, starting at 8:55 a.m. Watch the Nativity. 9:25 was Mr. Ben. 9:40 was the Pink Panther show. 10 o'clock was morning worship. Then at 11 we had weather, and that was hosted by Jim Bacon, and I vaguely remember him. 11:05 was a movie called The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. 1:10 we had carols from Warwick Castle. 2 o'clock was the Top of the Pops Christmas special, which featured ABBA, Blondie, David Bowie, Pink Floyd, The Police, and the Nolans, and the hosts were Peter Powell and Jimmy Savile. 3 o'clock, the Queen's Speech, and at 3:10 the movie was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I remember my dad made me watch it because he loved this movie and he wanted me to watch it. All I wanted to do was play cowboys, but I had to sit down and watch this movie. I can still remember that. Wow. So 5:15, the Paul Daniels Magic Christmas Show. 6:05 was the evening news with Angela Rippon. 6:10 was Larry Grayson's Generation Game. And at 7:15 we had Dallas. 8:05 was the Mike Yarwood Christmas Show. And his special guest was Engelbert Humperdinck. Interesting. The movie at 8:45 was Airport 1975. Then at 10:30 it was the main news and weather with Angela Rippon and Jim Bacon. 10:40 was Michael Parkinson's Parkinson at Christmas. And at 11:40, Christmas comedy classic, Fawlty Towers. And finally, we had the weather at midnight, and that was Christmas Day, BBC One, 1980. So now a quick look at the Christmas Top 10 in 1980. So starting at number 10, we have the Stray Cats with Runaway Boys. Now at number 9, and not for the first time on this chart, we have John Lennon with Imagine. And of course, Lennon had just been murdered earlier this month, back in 1980. Number 8 was Madness with Embarrassment. Number 7, Ant Music by Adam and the Ants. Number 6, The Police with Dee Doo Doo Doo, Dee Da Da Da. Number 5, Super Trooper by ABBA. Number 4, Merry Christmas, War is Over from John and Yoko. Number 3 was Stop the Cavalry from Jona Lewie. Number 2, Just Like Starting Over from John Lennon. And at number 1 at Christmas in 1980 was the St. Winifred's School Choir with the song There's No One Quite Like Grandma. I remember this song quite vividly because I remember my mum, she doesn't say she made me buy it, she didn't make me buy it, but she suggested I used my pocket money to buy this single for my grandmother's Christmas. A pretty unusual top 10, it has to be said, but also should be noted that John Lennon had just been murdered, so that's why he has 3 songs in the top 10 that year. Couple of classics from my perspective, obviously Ant Music being one that I loved, and I think Super Trooper by ABBA is a great song as well. But anyway, that was the top 10 at Christmas in 1980. So now a quick look at the comics and magazines of Christmas 1980. So starting with the Dandy, which is the Bumper Fun Dandy, and Prizes for Christmas, see page 2. Now you'll see it was only 8 pence in 1980, and the first episode in this series when we covered 1989, the Dandy and Beano were both costing 24p. That's a hell of an increase over the decade. Anyway, Corky Cat on the cover. He's realised he needs some thread to repair his sock for a Christmas stocking. He goes out onto the town to buy some thread. sees some bullies about to cut the wooden legs off the stilt walker. So he prevents that from happening by firing a water pistol at them. And to thank him, the stilt walker gives Corky one of his massive socks, which he then uses as a Christmas stocking. So good times back then. And the Christmas Beano, Dennis the Menace on the cover, playing with his new cowboy hat and gun, and they realise they forgot to buy a gift for the pig. So Gnasher hands him a pencil sharpener, and Walter the softy says, "Hey, but the pig doesn't write with a pencil." And Gnasher says it's not for sharpening a pencil, it's for sharpening his tusk. So he sharpens the pig's tusks, and with the sharpened tusks, charges at Walter and pokes him in the backside. Good old fun in the 80s. And finally, the smash hits of Christmas 1980 is a bit nondescript. Spandau Ballet on the cover, I believe that is Martin Kemp. Also features Adam and the Ants in colour, the Stray Cats, and hit lyrics including Israel, This Wreckage in Lorraine, none of which I recognise, but there is a Bow Wow Wow 4-page pullout, and I do remember Bow Wow Wow. Final point to mention, 35p in the UK, but the US it was costing $1.75. Don't know about exchange rates back then, but that's a hell of a jump. So anyway, those were the comics and magazines of Christmas 1980. Why do gorillas have such big nostrils? Because they have such big fingers. So thank you all for watching, and special thanks go out to the Patreons. I hope you've enjoyed this series, because I sure as hell have enjoyed putting it together. It's been a great trip down memory lane, so I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. So please like, please subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay tuned for more videos from All Things 80s. And most importantly, Merry Christmas, everybody.